to Forbes India and ServiceNow present the COO Collective. I'm Ridu Bhandari. Well, gone are the days when customer delight led to customer stickiness and long-term loyalty. Today's well-traveled, exposed, conscious, and tech-savvy consumer demands much more than delight. In fact, the consumer of today wants absolute euphoria from all experiences. What then can organizations do to optimize their processes and create many more of these wonderful customer experiences? What should companies do to keep pace with changing consumer behavior? And how can organizations leverage data and emerging technologies to keep pace with everything that the consumer of tomorrow will want? Those are some of the questions that we are aiming to answer here today at the COO Collective. And I'm very pleased to be joined by a very eminent panel of industry experts. Let me welcome, starting from my very right, Rajiv Chadha, Regional Director at ServiceNow. Right next to him, Munish Sood, COO, Banking and Capital Markets, Genpact. On my immediate left, Shashank Srivastav, Executive Director at Maruti Suzuki India. And we also have Ganesh Ananthanarayanan, COO of Airtel Payments Bank. And last but not the least, I'm joined by Vikas Sharma, EVP and Head of HR Tech at HCL Technologies. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here today on the COO Collective. Now, data is the new oil is perhaps a very old saying by now. We've been saying that for at least over a decade, if not more. So I want to hear quick insights from each of you on what exactly are you doing to leverage data at the back end. How are you minimizing costs? How are you increasing efficiencies? How are you basically leveraging data at the back end to ensure that the experience that your consumers get, both B2B and B2C, are flawless? If I can start with you, Vikas.
Yeah, sure. So I think one is the efficiency that one derives out of it. More than the efficiency, I think the ability to make faster, quicker decision making. I think from cost reduction, I would see it benefiting more in faster and efficient decision making at all levels. So therefore, I see people at even lower levels making the right decisions and being able to add value to the overall customer zone.
Right, so. Absolutely. More data-driven decision making. What about Airtel?
To us, we have at Airtel Payments Bank more than 55 million monthly transacting users. We process more than 22 million transactions every day. And all of this, there is a lot of, insights available. To us, data is less about cost optimization or internal efficiencies. To us, we see, data help us in three routes. One, delivering a very, very good experience for customers. When customers transact on our platforms, they tell us what they like, what they don't like, and accordingly making sure that the next time when the customer comes to our platform, we show them what they really like and what they want. I think that's the first aspect. The second aspect is to use all of this data to actually tailor-make products for individuals. Now, the 5-6 of us here in this table don't have possibly all the same objectives. We may have different objectives. We may have different needs and wants when it comes to financial services. So really tailor making a solution or a product or a suite to each one of them, I think is an important aspect, which is what data helps us do better. The third, and for us, at Airtel Payments Bank is extremely, extremely critical is security. Now, how do we identify vulnerable moments or vulnerable set of customers, who may possibly, tend to give out an OTP? So, for example, we do identify customers when they make a phone call and also are trying to do a financial transaction. It almost gives us an alarm that maybe something's not right. So we offer them a third factor of authentication. So that's the way in which we use data to make sure that the transaction is far more secure. So to us, three routes or three objectives: better experience, better customized products, and far higher levels of security.
And what is the Maruti story?
We come from the car industry. So, and it has many verticals, starting from the design itself. So data now being used for design, faster to the market, the product which used to take about 48 months generally. The time frames are now getting squeezed. So you have products which are coming into the market faster. Things like you may be using 3D printing, for example, for making components, design, which helps you, test products and therefore help you bring products faster to the market. In logistics or supply chain, it could be very well driving efficiencies and productivity, which is very essential in our business. That drives down costs as well. So that is one of the big, good points which is coming through from usage of digital. But from a consumer point of view, of course, to drive better consumer experience, and it could be from things like how to approach a consumer, how to cross-sell or upsell, how to handle queries and inquiries of the consumers, and also personalized messages. So you could actually have a very good media mix tailored for specific consumers. So all these aspects are driving our efficiencies and productivity, cost optimization, and also great consumer experience.
Wonderful. Munish, coming to you at Genpact, what are you doing with the copious amounts of data that you're generating?
First of all, it's great to be here. And so as we were just going around the panel, I was just thinking, so Genpact's vision is to be, we say that we are in the relentless pursuit of a world that works better for people. And we believe that data is one of the key elements that helps us unlock and deliver on our vision, right? So when you think about Genpact, 120,000 people, for us, we launched a program called Data Bridge, where we trained 100,000 people, and we enable them to play with data. And now these 100,000 people are writing and creating their own models. That means they are using data to better their operations, right? So when I just think about some of the use cases, right, just quickly, for a bank in Australia, we've reduced the time to refund from 14 days to 6 days. For another bank, we've improved their savings, their sourcing savings, by almost 30%. For another bank in the US, we've improved on their collections rate, right? So we've got a lot of prediction models that help you prioritize applications. We've got prediction models around how do you predict error rates, prediction models around, application prioritizer, right? So we believe that data is key to operating excellence, and we live and breathe data every day. So thank you for that.
Right, okay. And Rajiv, at ServiceNow, one, how are you enabling your customers, with the data that you're generating? And two, how are you helping them be more empowered towards their end consumers?
Thanks, Mridu, and pleasure to be on this panel with all the distinguished panelists. So to answer your first question, in terms of what ServiceNow is doing, I think pretty much like any industry, and we have representation from technology industry, from a banking financial services company, from a leading automotive player, and then an organization that themselves goes and deploys analytics and data solutions. So quite an interesting mix. We as a software company, and just like how data has become critical for all organizations, irrespective of what industry you are in, we are also very data driven in what we do. And it goes all the way to our CEO, Bill McDermott, who actually has a live CEO dashboard, a dashboard where he actually gets in data, which gets replenished very frequently, almost like every day, where he gets data from what the finance parameters or metrics on the organization look like, what's happening on the operations side, what's happening on the risk side, and so on and so forth. So I think a bit of a no-brainer to me, based on also the experience that we have of working with the organizations of all sizes, that data is the new oil. And I think all of us acknowledge that. I just want to pick the use cases that Ganesh spoke about, and then Shashankji added an interesting use case. So if you look at pretty much the entire value chain for a product or a service that an organization delivers today, right from designing, conceptualizing, all the way to the front end, the customer-facing set of things that we do, I think data has started playing a key role. I think the more common examples, couple that we heard on the panel itself, are in terms of how the in a B2C scenario, how the customer data is being analyzed, is being plowed back for organizations to offer solutions which are tailored to that specific individual or consumer. That's one example, but I want to draw your attention to something that the panel hasn't spoken about yet. And since we have 3 CEOs on the panel, it is around how data can actually be used to improve your operations. And that's a simple data mining application, wherein when you look at your operations, and let's say you are looking at a customer service operations, for instance, and each one of us service our customers, and that is a theme of the discussion as well. As you look at your customer service operations, and as you break down the various functions and the various processes that crisscross these functions, if you do a data mining on all these processes, there's actually tons of intelligence, tons of insights that you can derive from it, based on which any organization can actually optimize their processes way better than where they are. Right. Thank you. Sorry for the long answer.
No, absolutely. What you're saying is correct, that, obviously, operational excellence is necessary for success in today's world in any organization. So let me come to the CEOs then, and Ganesh, coming to you. As a CEO, how frequently do you review business processes, operational processes, and how frequently do you adjust these? What are the big challenges?
Yeah, so we do that very, very frequently, because to us, there are 2 important sources or streams of information which come to us. One is whenever there has been a failure and a customer has actually complained or called the call center, which actually is, an area for introspection for us. The second, and given that we are a digital organization, we are a digital bank, a lot of our transactions happen digitally. There is a lot of, insights which come from the funnel analysis we do, right from the time when the customers actually click the icon to the various stages the customer has dropped off and so on. Because without telling us, they actually tell us a lot. To me, or to us in the entire organization, these 2 are very, very important data fields which sort of come in, because it just gives us an opportunity for us to reflect on our processes, figure out what went wrong, correct it so that the next time the customer actually doesn't go through that same thing. So the key metric we track is the number of customers per million customers who actually call the call center because of some failure. And we then sort of look at that very, very regularly and see what changes we need to do, either in terms of our processes or in terms of our technology stack, to really ensure that we keep improvising. So I would say it's an ongoing thing, and we do it very, very regularly.
Okay, and Munish, I want to come to you to add on to that. A lot of the times the mentality is that if it's not broken, why try to fix it? So what are the key drivers when it comes to transforming a process or changing a process? What drives that change? And again, if you want to add on to the challenges.
Sure. Yeah, so I think there is a lot of danger in that thought process. And we know enough brands that have ceased to exist because of the mentality, right? So more at Genpact, when we are in the business of running processes, I think there are 3 dimensions or 3 pivots to changes. The first is the genesis of Genpact. It was called Jekis. We're a GE company. We were set up as a beta site for Lean Six Sigma. This is the first experiment in a services environment back in 1997. So our DNA is Lean and Six Sigma, right? So we are constantly challenging our associates, give Lean ideas. So there is a constant change of, there's a constant surge of ideas, and that drives a lot of changes. Within that, we built a lot of benchmarks, right? So we go to our clients and say, Mr. Client, you are here, the best in class is here, and we can help you go from here to here, right? So that itself drives a lot of changes. So the first pivot is continuous improvement, right? The second pivot for change is around all the regulatory changes, and what the regulators may be asking, and all the external changes that are around you, right? So that also drives a lot of changes in the processes. And the third one is about how do you really leverage and harness technology, right? So generative AI, right? That's the hottest word around, right? So we recently ran a hackathon at Genpact, and specifically in the vertical that I run, banking and capital markets, right? The team came up with about 500 generative AI ideas, and we are sifting through that. And about 25 of those ideas we believe have a solid potential for us to really change processes to deliver key business outcomes. So I would say that these 3 pivots are always making us evaluate processes for change and create more value for our clients.
Right. Okay, so that's very well said. And out of those three pivots, I think I'm going to pick up technology. We've seen a large amount of digital transformation in the last 3 years, especially post-COVID. And Vikas, if I can come to you with that, businesses have had to reassess customer journeys. They've had to sort of rethink decisions to reflect what the digital consumer of today truly wants. New use cases, new customer experiences have had to be designed by all businesses across industries. Give us a sense of what methods and approaches has HCL taken to match up to this ever-changing consumer behavior and consumer demands.
So I think COVID made us look at things very differently. And just to take you a step back, in HCL, we've been always talking about things which add value to the customer zone. So long back, if you heard employee first, customer second was the mantra we were talking about, wherein, it's almost more than decades old. Now, which means employees who are working on the customer front were empowered enough be able to take decisions and add value there. Now that became the DNA and the culture of the organization, and slowly and gradually, people started. We started going and creating relationship beyond the contract was the kind of relationship that we created with customers, which said that we are not. Our relationship is like like a parent and a child. You don't kind of contract that, for reading out this book to you or reading out this thing to you, so much will be the SLA. So which means we go beyond the contract to say how can we add value and keep the customer happy and, deliver more than promised. And here comes COVID. And we realized that a lot of our customers were themselves in a very sticky situation. They were in a spot. They themselves were going through a little tough times because of the demands on them by their customers. So I think what HCL evolved to is the fact that we've become partners to our customers in helping them, achieve their objectives and deliver better services to their customers, and help them through their digitalization journey in doing so and delivering much beyond what they had promised to their customers. And that's the reason if you see the retention rate of customers that HCL has is way beyond a lot of our competition.
Right.
So.
Okay, great. So let me then come to the B2C side of it, and manufacturing and automotives in particular. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. We are talking about connected workflows. We are talking about IoT and Internet of Things, revolutionizing your shop floors. But I want to talk a little bit about the sales force right now that's on the field and administrative activities, which often form a great part of operational excellence. What sort of automation is happening at that end, and what's the vision at Maruti, the long-term vision, and how is some of this automation of your sales force as well as admin activities, translating into happiness for the end consumer?
Few years back, we realized that there is this big change happening, both with regards to the consumer processes, the way they are buying vehicles, cars, and also the way we should be approaching them. You said at the beginning of the program, data is the new oil. And, there is, in our company now, we often discuss that data is the new oil, of course. We used to earlier say, how much data is there on the wheels that we produce? So we used to always talk of cars as wheels with a lot of data. So wheels with data. But now we are saying it looks like it is all data which is traveling on wheels. So it's like the thing which is taking you is data and it has got wheels. That's a big transformation in terms of the mindset within the organization. When you analyze how consumers buy cars, and you really dissect it, you will see there are 26 touch points from the time consumer thinks of buying a car to the actual delivery of the car. Like, for example, he will go to a website check, he will go to some forums, auto forums to see comparisons, he might download a brochure, and there are some 26 touch points all clearly laid out. 24 touch points are now digitalized. And that is done not only for efficiency, because that's what consumer expects. I just heard pre-COVID, post-COVID, the differences. Pre-COVID inquiries were just 3% on digital. They are now 40%. We suddenly realized, we started, of course, 2016. This journey took us 4 years to have inquiry from 3% to 15%. But 15 to 45 actually took place in 3 months during the COVID time. So that was a huge change. It hasn't come back. It's like, it seems to be, it cannot be changed. It cannot be irreversible. So we have, of course, now a lot of technology which enables us to know more about consumers and hence personalize our approach to them in terms of, as I said, cross-selling or upselling. And also, for example, we are using it in technology and data. First of all, we build a single view of customer. We have lots of data from transactions, from a DMS, which we started in 2005. I think he was there helping us for the DMS project as well. And we have also now added interactional data, which means people who visit websites, who write something on social media, we keep monitoring that as well. Lots of data. We put it together in a data lake, do data warehousing, as that's how it's done. And then you have a single view of consumer. And you can actually now sell, upsell, and cross-sell basis that. I'll give you an example. There was this guy who bought a WagonR from us in 2005. We had the transaction through DMS, and they keep coming for service or insurance every year, finance, etc., accessories. So there are a lot of touch points. You keep adding data to it. You also keep adding things about that person. And in 2019 or so, we realized that his daughter, who was studying here in Delhi, Gargi College, would be now coming into the workforce. This came from that data which we were maintaining. You run analytics on it, and the machine tells you, this is one potential consumer. And we went to that girl. She said, my father has a WagonR, I don't want to buy a WagonR. And she was sure enough buying a car, but she said she's not considering WagonR. She's going to buy one of our competitor, not so good, but competitor vehicle. But we told her, listen, this is not the WagonR of your father. This is the third generation WagonR. So she said, what is third generation WagonR? And then we started telling, this has got this and this. And she has bought, by the way, the WagonR. So this is one example which you would never have approached without that data being. I give you several examples, if you allow me one more example.
So the WagonR is an heirloom in that family for sure.
Yeah. So for example, we have now so much data available with so many technology of sensors coming into the car. As I said, it is all data walking on wheels. We have now that connectivity, and also with edge computing, the ability to do it very quickly. You have Suzuki Connect, which connects all the data to the cloud, and you can analyze it online, in real time. There are many good usage for it. For example, we know from how many times a consumer uses the brake. So there are consumers who use brakes more often than required. So you can actually predict that his brake pads need replacement, not at the regular 20,000 kilometer, but at 10,000 kilometers. So you approach that customer, it has happened, and he will say, why should I get it checked at 10? It is supposed to be at 20. They say, no, you brake very often. So please get it checked. And that is one way by which, it's safer for him. It is better for everybody.
Right.
And this is being enabled, and you have so many other examples by which you can say this data is helping. And from the sales side, we are also doing lead qualification and lead prioritization basis this. So if 3 people walk in, earlier a salesman, experienced salesman would say, Mridu is the person who will buy probably. So you classify the lead as hot or cold or medium, you know, that's our basis experience. You just judge talking to the consumer.
More intuitive.
But now we are using AI tools basis the consumer information that we have.
Right.
And as we discuss further, I'll give you examples of how we are using retina movement and for safety and things, many such things. This has helped us prioritize leads, therefore bringing in efficiencies. And we actually measure. The good thing is you keep measuring. Otherwise, that salesman, experienced salesman who said, I know, yaar, this is the hot lead, I know ye better customer hai, you have to depend on him.
Right.
And he may be wrong.
Right.
So data is clearly helping us making not only better sales decision, cross, upsell, whatever, but also measure whether it is the right. And the great thing about machine learning is every time you make a wrong decision, it is actually helping you in some ways because it helps you make the right decision in the
next
future.
time. Yeah.
So we are using that, and it is adding to the productivity per person, or what is the measure of productivity for a salesman,
Right.
how much sale he's doing, etc. So it's great for us, and we are of course learning, and we hope that we will even be better at selling through this data management.
Right, very, very interesting. So let me then shift gears a little bit and talk about the external environment, and it's a volatile external environment that we are in at this point, you know, when it comes to the business environment. Munish, what are some of the end-to-end target operating models that you know, your organization is integrating to keep pace with the external environment, especially when it comes to sales and operations? And at Genpact, how are you leveraging data and insights for better conversion and to reach out to more customers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I spoke about our vision earlier, right? In terms of how do we really, essentially the vision of relentless pursuit of a world that works better for people, right? And the vision that we have for the operations is that how do you really be the most transformative partner for your clients? Or how do you run a purpose-led vision, right? So how do you run purpose-led operations? So it's all about, you know, when you are, let's say, in the banking space, when somebody's working in the financial crime space, it's all about, you know, how are you preventing money from getting in the hands of wrong people? Or let's say, when you're issuing a loan, it's all about enabling people's dreams of buying a, let's say, a car or a home, etc. Right? So I think the point I'm making is that it's all in context of the key business outcome that you're trying to drive for your customers. And then it's about how do you drive the best business outcome, right? So obviously, we have the Lean Six Sigma thinking, we have the benchmarks, we have the data. And then, obviously, we're using a lot of AI and technology. And interestingly, of the total Genpact revenues, 45% of revenues come from data technology and AI. It's called Data Tech AI at Genpact. So we all the time, we as a company have done multiple acquisitions. We acquired a company on technology. We've done an acquisition of AI company, of a design thinking company, of a company that is into experience. And we're combining all of this to make sure that we have better value propositions for our customers that are really enabling good business outcomes for them, both on the top line and bottom line.
Interesting. Okay, so, you know, let me also then come to process optimization for business, which means also identifying inefficiencies in regular procedures. And, you know, Ganesh, if I can come to you, how is Airtel really doing that? How do you optimize all your processes? You know, simplify that for us and give us a few examples of, you know, how that really translates for the lay viewer.
Yeah, as I started off by saying, you know, to us, you know, the two important inputs into defining whether our processes work for customers or not is basis any failures which happen, and hence when customers call the call center. And second is when they do transactions on our platform, you know, if they drop off somewhere in the middle, we know that there's something wrong and there's something which needs to get fixed or made more appealing or the benefits needs to be communicated better. So to us, these are two important sources basis which I think the entire organization is run. The way in which actually we sort of define whether a process works or not is, this is customer feedback. I'll give an example of how we acquire customers, as in we open bank accounts for customers in a fully digital route. Obviously during COVID, one of the key challenges which customers had was to travel, to a nearest BC agent or to a nearest banking point to actually open a bank account. Although the retail outlet was maybe 5-10 minutes away. Thankfully the regulator was also cognitive of this, and they then launched, KYC guidelines where using a video call you could actually open an account of a customer. We then sort of launched that on our platform, and we now have, maybe a couple of million customers every month wanting to open a bank account using a fully digital route, where they actually just do a video call, give us some of the details, and then their bank accounts are opened. So this is one example where actually we started off with what is the key consumer problem. Of course, then use technology to see how a process of opening a bank account can be made better, and that's something which we used pretty effectively.
Okay, but at the back end, how are you driving collaboration? How are you breaking data silos within the organization and ensuring that everyone in the system, because it's a large organization, everyone in the system has access to the same databases, to the same technology tools, and they're all managed in one central digital location?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So actually to us, I think one thing which I don't think all of us have spoken about, but I'm sure we're cognizant of, is while there is data, I think the way in which we use data needs to be done in a very, very responsible manner. Because customers have trusted us, by using our platform, and hence have given us some indicators of what they like and what they don't like. I think using that in a very responsible manner, I think is core for all of us. And I think that's the first guiding principle for us as an organization, in terms of how do we use data. Shashank did mention, I think we do have a central data lake, which is where, all the information about a customer comes in. There is one view of the customer. We use technology to make sure that, the right units of the organization get the right view and the behavior, basis which insights are derived and key actions are taken. So I would say, that's the two aspects.
Ritu, can I add to that?
Sure.
Yeah. So similarly at Genpact, given our core product has been operations and transformation, we've also built our own proprietary operating excellence platform. It's called Enterprise 360, and that's a platform that has all the data, and it's got about 26 variables that go into predicting the health of operations. And we believe that the science of running operations is beyond just measuring service levels, right? It's about capturing the sentiment of the employees. So we're leveraging something called Amber, which you are also using at ATL, which gives you like the sentiment of the employee on the floor. And then it's about capturing the conversations that our frontline managers are having with the customers, right? So it takes into account of that. It also captures the learning quotient of our employees, right? So that's one way of making sure all of the data is coming together and is really being harnessed. And if I can just give you one quick use case. So for example, we're doing collections for many banks, right? We collect for, let's say, personal loans or motor loans or mortgages, etc. Now, because we've got this data, the collection set of data for, let's say, banks globally, we're able to bring all of that data together, right, and harness the data and create prediction models to say that, if you need to collect, here is your best model to collect, or the time to call, or, what are the 2 or 3 prediction models that you can use to power up your collections, not only for collecting more dollars, but also reducing your cost to collect, right? So that's how we're bringing it together at Genpact.
Very, very interesting.
Just if
yes,
I may also
please.
add a little. So one is from the customer standpoint of view. The other is we have to see from the employee standpoint of view. We have a lot of Gen Z now coming into the workforce. And that's the generation which has grown with technology, and for them, life is not the same. Now, if you were to not change and revisit digitalization at your own place, for example, training employees in a classroom, methodology, I think is going to become obsolete now. They want their freedom to use their time whenever available, while on the treadmill or while driving or whatever, to be able to, invest and use that time for training. So therefore, your digitalization of all your training programs and the availability of platforms to, what we used to call as IJPs, we have a talent exchange program now. They just want to view whatever is available, and they want to make their own choices, saying we want to apply for X job, than someone saying that. So, and therefore to reach that journey, which all trainings I require are available on my platforms, and I can use that. So the whole work culture is changing, and fast changing from the digitalization.
All right. Okay, so we're running out of time. So I'm going to come to each one of you, and I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to leave us with that one piece of advice for enterprises that are seeking to optimize their processes using powerful workflows with the goal in mind to achieve operational excellence and, of course, wonderful customer experiences. Rajiv, would you like to start?
Sure. I think I would just like to reiterate what I said earlier. To my mind, enterprises need to look for a complete digital platform and not siloed solutions. A digital platform that can help them with all kinds of workflows cutting across IT, sales, operations, employees, and at the same time has capabilities like single data models, AI, ML, RPA, etc., baked into that platform. So to summarize, while organizations may be looking at initiatives in silos, but there is huge merit for them to actually start looking at platforms which can help them solve multiple problems as against one problem in one function.
Okay, breaking the silos. Munish?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a biased question because you're assuming that the workflow will solve the problem, right? But by the way, we've leveraged ServiceNow, and we've got a fantastic use case on modernizing the procurement help desk for a leading bank, and we've got some terrific results. But look, I'll just broaden thing. I think for us, the vision is to be the most transformative partner for our clients. We are in a constant endeavor of creating more value for our clients in terms of how do you not just be a good operating partner, but also be a good strategic partner. And for us, it's all about what's the right use of all the tools and technologies and data that you have that creates the best solution. And I think our belief is that we do not want to take a particular solution to the client, right? We want to take a bundled solution that really solves the key problem, right? And then our differentiation is essentially that, how do we take our process capability? How do we take our process capability because of the GE Lean Six Sigma heritage? How do we take our domain capability of, let's say, financial services in this case? And how do we power it up with analytics and technology? And 45% of our business is data tech AI. So I think we look at the combination of all of that. And at least in my experience in the banking and insurance space, I haven't seen one large platform implementation go through successfully, right? So what's really my advice is go for point solutions that really solve the problem. I think ServiceNow is a fantastic tool, right? And similarly, there are other partners and platforms that are helping you solve problems. Adoption of technology is extremely important, but just using technology to solve a problem is not the advice I have, but creating the right solution using technology data is the right solution that I would recommend that organizations should adopt.
All right. Shashank?
Very quickly, number one advice is get the entire organization in that mindset of digital, of technology, and that includes training. And that also includes, by the way, in fact, it includes more the top management, because sometimes they might be actually the bottleneck. So that's number one. Number two, determine what is required for the long run. Don't take a short-term view. And for that is you require to see how your overall business will go, which direction going forward. Invest fearlessly in platforms, digital platform, with that long term in mind. And third is keep measuring all parameters of performance, where you are going, you keep measuring. And finally, don't be afraid to fail. That these four factors, I believe, are essential going forward, because we are all in this evolving field.
Right. All right. That's well said. Ganesh?
A couple of things. One, use it very responsibly. I think that's the most important aspect, when it comes to usage of data. Secondly, use it to make a big difference in the life of your stakeholders. The stakeholders could be consumers. So whatever you do, make sure that you're able to make a big difference to the life of consumers, either through better experience or through personalization or through, constructing products or services which is unique for them. Your stakeholders could also be employees, as we discussed, and use data and technology to make sure that the employee becomes more productive, the employee becomes earns more incentives, or becomes a better employee, and so on and so forth. So I think these are the two aspects. One is about using it very, very responsibly, and second is using it to make a big difference in the life of the stakeholders.
Right. Creating a much greater impact. Vikas?
Yeah, I think a lot have been said and covered. But in short, digitalization is a journey. And it should not be perceived with one or two elements of either just productivity improvement or cost cutting. Now, those are byproducts. You see, when you embark on this journey, you carry all your stakeholders along, and you take and embark with full passion, and with a goal that all your stakeholders are going to benefit out of it. So the moment we bring in things like it is going to help me reduce cost, or it is going to help me, it brings more fear in your adoption of technology and adoption of the digitalization journey, than trying to bring you all the benefits if you were to go fearless and passionately. And this journey, as someone rightly said, is not a small time, or a one-time objective.
Yeah.
It is a journey for life. Yeah.
All right, that's very well said. Thank you, gentlemen. Indeed, people will always remain at the heart, no matter how many technologies come and go. So thank you very much for sharing your, wonderful, wonderful insights. Well, enhanced customer experience will obviously continue to be a definitive competitive advantage for enterprises, and data-led process optimization continues to be a huge enabler. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. That's a wrap on this edition of the COO Collective. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Goodbye.